Now let's go over Unit 2, the metabolic process. Here we are going to look into the, again, overall expectations of the course. One of them is that you must be able to analyze the role of metabolic process in the functioning of a biotic and abiotic system and evaluate the importance of an understanding of these processes and related technologies to personal choices made in everyday life. I'm going to explain that to you after reading this paragraph. Then you will be able to investigate the products of metabolic process, such as cellular respiration and photosynthesis, and demonstrate an understanding of the chemical changes and energy conversions that occur in metabolic process. So what is that exactly? We know that we do have anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism is a set of all of the chemical reactions in your body, after which we are going to see synthesis of different proteins or different components in your cells and your body. Catabolism is when we are talking about breaking down these structures. For example, we may now break down a protein into amino acids. You know that amino acids together, they make a protein. So now when we break down the protein, we are talking about catabolism, where the protein is going to become amino acids. The same thing applies to the fat, to the glycerol. The same thing applies to different molecules of glucose that are coming from the starch, for example. So this is catabolism. Now, when we talk about anabolism and catabolism in different contexts, we are talking about, in general, about the metabolism. So metabolism is catabolism reactions plus anabolism. I'm talking about the reactions as well. Now let's continue with this chapter. And we're going to talk about, of course, the cellular energy. We already talked about the energy and we talked about the ATP last time, in the last lecture. And we talked about the fact that we need to have the breakdown of the product of the breakdown of different molecules like proteins, fat, and starch, for example, in order to be able to look into the, again, having more molecules of glucose, amino acids, and glycerol, and then to also have enough oxygen so that we would be able to create ATP in aerobiose, it means in conditions with oxygen, and in anaerobiose, it means conditions where there is no oxygen. And we saw that when we are having oxygen, we are going to have up to 36 molecules of ATP from one molecule of glucose. However, if we don't have enough oxygen, or I would say in the absence of oxygen, we are going to be able to produce only 2 ATPs. Still, we are making ATPs, but it's not going to be enough to survive for those cells. So now, now let's go over the questions, because that's mainly why we need to think together. Use this question to think about the implication of altering body metabolism. It means that now you are going, we do have toxins, we do have different drugs that will alter the metabolism. It means altering the anabolism and the catabolism. So one of the questions is, do fat diets work? We know that when we are having a diet, we are trying to reduce the amount of fat stored in our body. However, we understand that when we are storing fat, first of all, that's because we are taking too much fat that will be stored, as well as too much glucose that will be stored under the format of a fat. In both case scenarios, we are taking much more than what our body is needing in order to survive or to function properly. So now that we are going to have that much fat, we are also going to increase our need in energy, because that fat needs to be converted, stored, and then it's going to be an extra weight for us. Now that we talk about increasing the demand in energy, We are looking into how we are going to be able to use different strategies in order to reduce our weight. Now you may say, okay, I'm not going to eat again too much glucose. This is correct. However, if you don't take enough glucose, you are going to stop the regular input of glucose, and then you are going to affect some other organs like your brain that needs glucose anyways. So this is one strategy, but it may not be the best one. Then we can talk about the fact that maybe we can now get or eat less fat. This is okay. However, we still need fat in the beta oxidation in the mitochondrion. So you cannot stop taking or just taking glucose and proteins, for example. You may say, okay, if this is the case, I'm not going to take glucose or sugars, and I'm not going to take fat. I'm just going to take proteins. This is okay. However, just taking protein is not going to allow your body to function properly. In fact, we need to have ratios. And again, in different people, that ratio is different. Ratio between the quantity of the sugars, the fat, and the, I would say, sugar, fat, and proteins that we have to get. So now, when we are talking about using drugs, we have some tools in order to stop, for example, the fat metabolism, but then it's going to kill the person. We can also stop the glucose metabolism by toxins. Again, it's going to kill the person. Arsenic, for example, that I'm sure you saw that in different old movies where spies, again, they were acting, of course, they were acting, taking arsenic, and then they were dying, for example. Arsenic is stopping the mitochondrions from producing enough ATP. So when we are talking about diet or about medications, you cannot just look into one pathway. There are so many energetic pathways in your body that you have to look into all of that, and the overall understanding of those systems, body systems, is going to allow us to come up with different solutions within limitations as well. Then what is the healthy way to lose weight here? Based on your understanding, you will be able to think about just the very, very simple thing. The healthy way to lose weight is, first of all, to look into your health status, looking into your gender, looking into your age, into your need for calories. For example, someone who is very young, the person needs about 2,500 calories up to 4,000 calories per day. So if you deprive the person from getting enough calories, you are interfering with the normal growth of the person. So it doesn't work. So one type of diet is not going to work for everyone. And this is, you can conclude this based on your understanding of the system, of the energetic. So on the other side, now, if you're looking into someone who is old, and the person has, for example, now they don't have enough, I would say, muscles, or they don't have enough fat in their cells, here we have to give them a diet in order to gain weight, because if not, they are going to have deficiencies of vitamins, deficiencies of energy, and then those people are going to, be exposed to life-threatening conditions as well. So all of these different discussions are here in order to make you realize that you have to look into a system at 360 degrees from all of the different angles. And this is why we need to understand the biology and, of course, the energetics as well. If you don't know, it doesn't matter. You're going to read. You have books, you have research, many types of research that are being done, and you will be able to look into, again, those research activities and to learn much more. And again, not all of the research activities or research articles may be, effective for your patient or even your own body. That's because we also have a genetic predisposition for the amount or the rate of the metabolism in our body. And that rate of metabolism or metabolic rate may change depending on the way that we are living, even in which area we are living. If you're living in a cold country, for example, it's obvious that your metabolic rate is going to increase, it's going to adapt. While if you are in a hot country, your entire metabolism is going to adapt as well after a few years. So these are all different, again, factors that we have to take into account. We cannot just say that one pill is okay for everyone. This is what I'm trying to say as well. Then should people use diet pills and are they safe? Here, this is a question that you are going to have, of course, you may have in your exam. So I'm going to leave it to you to think about that. I told you already that one pill may not work, but the answer to the question is not just no. The answer is that you have to explain, because that question that you're going to have in your exam will be based on better communication, explanation, and of course, a conclusion that is going to tell us what would be the best way to lose weight. And then how can plants and other organisms be used to improve the environment? This is, and again, another, I would say, type of question. I'm not going to ask you that one, because for the plants and other organisms, it's going to go really beyond the expectation of the course. However, plants and other organisms, they are also very important to our diet. For the plants, they do have lots of fibers as well. So the fiber is going to increase the peristaltism of our intestine, and it's going to allow us to, again, the digestive system to work much better. On the other side, plants also are the source of different vitamins, molecules that we cannot make, but we can get from the plants. They're also a good source of glucose. Our body cannot make glucose, so we also need plants. We can again eat those as well. So we have plants are a source of minerals, of glucose, and of course of vitamins. That's why it's important to have them. Now, we can also talk about different organisms or microorganisms. Have you ever had, the opportunity, I would say, to take antibiotics? For sure. And did you experience any type of diarrhea after taking antibiotics, or any change in your body that you could feel after using antibiotics? This is the case for everyone. Why? That's because up to 10% of our body weight is made of microorganisms and good bacteria. If they are in our intestine or digestive system, we call that intestinal flora. So intestinal flora is the assembly of several types of good bacteria that will allow us to do a better digestion. They live with us in symbiosis, and they also allow us to, for example, absorb vitamin B. If we take antibiotics, in addition to killing the bad bacteria that are going to harm us, those antibiotics may and they will also destroy the intestinal flora to some extent. And this is why we will see some issues with the water retention, with the retention or absorption of vitamins. And usually after finishing, again, a therapy with antibiotics, we will need another 1 week in order to go back to the normal conditions. And this is why we always say that we have to take some probiotics. These are, again, nutrients that are having live microorganisms that we can use. You can also find them in yogurt. You can also buy some medications at Shoppers Drug Mart, for example, or at any pharmacy. And when you're also eating bread, or if you're taking some, I would say again, milk-based products, you're always going to be able to bring back or give back to your body those good bacteria. And then, of course, the intestinal flora is going to build up gradually. So now you understand that if we are taking any medication that's going to kill or, again, affect our microorganisms that are not us, but they're living in symbiosis with us, we are going to be exposed to experiencing some health issues as well. Now, let's go over the nutrition and cellular energy. Here we talk about the nutrition. You already know that we do have 3 types of nutrients: fats, proteins, and sugars. So I will not go over that. Then let's go over the fat diets. Here, I'm going to ask you, of course, to read that. But when we talk about the diets, we are talking about, preventing our body to take too much or more than the necessary energy or nutrients that we need every day. Now, what happens is that when we are using that those nutrients, this is because we are in need. Sometimes eating becomes a habit. Sometimes eating becomes a reflex against, being scared or being happy or being unhappy, like smoking, where people, I'm not now, I mean, that much less now, but many years ago, smoking was really coming with taking coffee or having a good meal. So people, they had a tendency to, have a good meal and then to associate the pleasure of having a good meal with, smoking a cigarette. Obviously, that's because when you're taking a meal, you're going to have a higher level of proteins, of course, and fat in your blood. And when you are not you, but when people are smoking, the nicotine that is going to get into their blood is going to be absorbed to the fat or the circulating fat or circulating proteins, and that nicotine would be released gradually over a longer period of time from those proteins or the fat. So that when after, again, having a meal, when people, they were smoking, the nicotine was going to stay for longer in their blood. So this is why. Now, of course, what I'm saying is that if now people, they look into smoking, they would now associate smoking with eating. And now that would be a circle, I would say, that would continue over time and time. And then it would become a habit of smoking and eating at the same time. And if they were not having any activity and they were having a sedentary life, in this case, they would end up becoming obese. And this is the issue. And that's a disease, of course, that we have in North America, mainly in the USA. Now, we can talk about the low-fat or no-fat diet. Here, these are, again, different. I'm not going to go over each and every of these because it's already written. You can read them. But what I'm telling you is that when you're looking into changing the energy level or whatever you're bringing to your body, you have to think about consequences too. You need to have minimum 2,000 to 3,000, 2,500 calories per day. And those are coming to you through, again, eating, because you have to absorb that every day. Now, if you think that you're gaining weight, this is because somewhere in some of your eating habits, you're taking too much, or you're eating a product, I would say nutrients that are, some of them, for example, they are, again, not staying enough in your blood, like the glucose, and then you're going to feel hungry. Example is that in the morning, when you are eating something which is sweet with a cup of coffee, you will definitely be hungry at, I would say, 10:30, 11. And now this is going to push you to have a snack. Now you may take a fruit thinking that you are now okay, which will not be the case. And then at 1, you will need to eat again. Now you see that because of the type of nutrients that you're taking, you are now feeling that you're always hungry and you're always having more and more snacks during the day. At night as well, if you're sleeping late, like at 12 or 1, obviously you're going to go beyond the 4 to 6 hours of distance or delay between 2 meals, and you're again going to become hungry. You're going to eat right before going to bed. And then when you're going to bed, you're not going to have any activity. So your metabolism it usually goes down a little bit. And then you're going to store more fat and more sugars as well. So you see that here you have a cycle for eating. You also have the way of living that is going to affect, again, your body weight, as well as the type of food that you eat. The best thing to do is to take proteins in the morning as well, because when you're taking proteins in the morning, while taking sugar, that sugar in your blood is also going to be absorbed by the proteins, and then the sugar is going to be released gradually. So next time when you're going to have your breakfast, think about, again, getting some protein, some meat, plus a sweet, or say, or maybe yes, even the bread, for example, because bread is also, you know, you don't have that much protein unless you have some, again, other ingredients on it. But usually, I'm talking about the seeds. But usually, this is mainly a starch, and it's going to give us more glucose. Now, when you're going to have a sandwich with, again, with I would say, the meat, you are going to see that you will not be hungry until 12 or 1 p.m. And then when you're going to have a snack, maybe, or another meal, you are not going to be hungry until 6 or 7 p.m. And the best time for eating is at 6, 7 p.m. So a few hours before going to bed. By doing this, you are maintaining enough high level of glucose, available glucose in your blood, and you're not going to be, again, hungry. So you see, the way that you eat, the timing of the day that you eat, the amount of the food that you're eating, they're all going to contribute into a healthy, I call it a healthy weight. Now, if we see that this balance is imbalanced now, we are going to lose weight too much, or like diabetic people, or we are going to gain weight because this balance is not there anymore. This is why it will depend on, again, the physiology and the gender and the ethnicity and the genetic predisposition and the culture and the way of that people are eating around us. This is why, again, we have to think twice. And what I'm telling you now is just a course on critical thinking. I'm using my knowledge, like you're using your knowledge, in order to think about, okay, what would be the consequences of eating too much, not eating too much, not eating properly, not using enough compounds, again, I would say a right ratio between the proteins, fat, and glucose, and then we can look into the consequences as well. Then diet pills and medications. We have been having so many different diet pills and medications over history, I would say over years and years ago. And each time they were not really working properly or fully. That's because of the fact that when we are looking into, again, I would say eating habits, first of all, we may look into what are our habits, and then we can maybe find the solution by changing those eating habits and what we're eating and when we're eating. If not, by having pills or medication, you continue to eat and store while you're going to find different non-natural ways to lose weight. And obviously, since one pill is not going to be the solution for everyone, you're going to have, again, diets that are going mainly to harm people. So first of all, we need to use our understanding of how we are going to gain weight, for example, and then looking into different ways that we can reduce the extra amount of the food and energy that we're bringing to our body before thinking about eating like as much as we would like to, and then to have a pill in order to lose weight. That will not happen to me, because I mean, we do have many, but again, it's having so many side effects you cannot imagine. So please read, of course, the content, and you're going to understand much more about, this topic. And then let me see over that. So phytoremediations, you can just read that as well. These are just different plants that we can eat. Some plants, in order to be digested, they are going to, like celeries, they are going to use more energy to be digested than the energy that eating that plant is going to bring to your body. So celeries, for example, are one of those those cases where you can eat, and of course you're going to feel that you're less hungry. It's also going to give you a sensation to be filled. I mean, your stomach to be filled. On the other side, it is full of fibers, and it's going to, again, use more energy for digestion than the plant giving you energy. Okay, so the rest of that, of course, I'm going to ask you to please read the content, but I covered, again, everything, mainly the curriculum, what is asked by the curriculum for this topic of discussion. So thank you very much. Now I'm going to be ready, of course, to respond to your questions. Just allow me to stop that.